All right, hey people. Today is November 30th, 2024. I'm Chris Lucas. This is my show, The Protestant View. It is a different name under another channel or two, but um, I don't even know if I want people to know about my other YouTube channel right now. I do plan to upload this to Chris Lucas, The Protestant View, live on YouTube, but I am currently banned. So, you people that are watching this later on, well, that's why you need to subscribe to either Rumble or Odyssey, okay? So, um, anyway, this show today is going to be about Daniel 9:27 because I actually think there is a deception that's about ready to come upon people, and it might even have to do with this prophecy and false fulfillments of it. So, I mean, and I'm just basically doing this show because I see a lot of people promoting all this crazy stuff about an antichrist that's gonna rise up and scare people and do all these things. And what they might not understand is that antichrist is already here, right? And has always been here. That's just one viewpoint. I'm never saying I'm absolutely true, right about all these things. True, I do try to be true, but as far as right goes, it's like, hey, sometimes you can try to be true, but you don't. You realize you're misinformed yourself, and then you realize, well, oops, things I said weren't really on the mark, were they? So, and I try not to be like that. That's why I don't ban people like these other channels do. If you disagree with me, I will not ban you for disagreeing with me. If you have a channel and you want to post a video response, and let's say you disagree with me during the show and disagree, but you don't want to come on my show and tell me why you disagree. You don't have to come on my show and tell me why you disagree. You can later post your video response and I'll actually tell people about it. I might even review it myself, right? If I have time. I'm a very, very, very busy person. Um, but the thing I want people to know is I'm not some narcissistic person like 99.99% of these people on YouTube and all these other platforms are. That's why I don't mind if you guys disagree with me. Because, see, these narcissistic personalities, they do get offended. It's like, oh no, the this person disagreed with me. I'm gonna ban them. And I might post a link to my channel, and they're like, I'm super important and not you, and so I'm gonna ban you. And it's like, no, I don't do that, stupid. I think it's kind of abominable. I don't want to really, I'm trying to withhold from insulting people too much, but I think people just say some crazy things that just sorry, I got a little distracted because I didn't realize there was something on my cup. And it's pretty nasty on the bottom of it. But anyway, but I try to let people have as much free speech as possible. I the only thing I ask, don't cuss, right? And you're really stupid if you do cuss. And then some people will get offended about that. But check this out. Do you think there's people that have families that might be watching this in their living room? And do you think they might have kids? And do you think they might have to turn off your show if they start hearing F bombs? Like, just don't be stupid. And these channels that do just drop F bombs, trust me, they don't care about you, right? Because if they did, they would already have thought of this and they would have already stopped dropping F bombs, and like, I'm going to be considerate because I know people got kids and they might not want their kids hearing this, right? So that's the only reason why I do this stuff. I've had people in the past, attack me for the most dumbest things, like, "Oh, Chris, you won't allow me to drop an F-bomb on your show, and you ban me." Well, do you want a large audience to hear you or not? Oh, you don't? Okay, well, if you don't want a large audience to hear you, what you have to say must not be important. I don't need to put my audience through it. Now, if it is really important, you're going to be as polite as possible so I can push this show out to as many people as possible so as many people as possible can hear it. And guess what? Some people have kids and they're listening to this in the background while they're playing with their kids or while they're taking care of their kids or taking care of their family. They might even be at work listening to this. I don't want F bombs because I want people to be able to hear the show. So stop, don't attack me for that moronic stuff. You're the moron, okay? You're the narcissist that thinks you're so important that you should be able to drop an F-bomb and everyone should still love you and still hear you and still tune in to you because what you got is so important, more important than their kids, more important than their job. See, that's a very narcissistic personality you have, and it disgusts me. And I don't want people like you on my show. I don't want people like you even watching my show, to be honest, because I don't care about you. If you want to change, I do care about people that want to change and be better people. I don't care about people that want to be like that. All right. Simple as that. So now that that's out of the way, I wanted to give some people, because some time to join. I know people are like, Chris, you rambled a little bit. Well, these things I need to put out there. So and it's really sad I have to put these things out there, right? Because it's like, I mean, don't people think, but obviously don't, they voted for a guy once again who, spent $10 trillion that your children and your children's children and your children's grandchildren and so on and so forth will have to pay back based on some rushed out medicine that doesn't look like it's medicine, doesn't look like it's effective. And then they go and vote for Trump again, right? It just doesn't make sense to me. But these are the people that don't think, right? So, and I really don't care how many people I lose off that comment, because I know there's going to be Christians that tune into my show just to hear me talk about this subject. But the thing is, I want you people to think more. And I'm not really concerned about people that are out to kill, and that's how I feel like most of you are who voted for Trump once again, because I don't think you're thinking. And you had 4 years to find a better candidate, and you didn't do it, and a lot of you people didn't even think to do it. So, anyway, um, one of the reasons why I'm talking about Daniel 9 today, which is about, a lot of people think it's about a future antichrist. You know what? Let me go ahead and bring up that verse. What led to it is this comment I have on the side of my screen. There's somebody named YouTube channel that started responding to a post I made a long time ago, and they're arguing with me that. Let me bring up the verse. I'm gonna probably do this. What version? Let me see what version this is. Let me try the. No, you know what? Let me try New American Standard. I think I might be able to stomach that a little bit better. And people, look, I'm new to translating and digging into the Hebrew and things like that, right? I only did it recently because as I'm debating people, they will argue with me and act like they're experts, right? And then it's like I go look this up because I'm like, okay, if they're right on this point, then I am wrong. But then when I start to research things, I'm like, whoa, the Hebrew text doesn't even say what these people are claiming it says. So anyway, if for anyone that wonders, like, why do people, put so much focus on Israel and the Jews and an antichrist and an antichrist being Jewish. A lot of it focuses around this prophecy right here in Daniel chapter 9 in the Bible. And what these people will tell you is that this 70th week of this prophecy, which is set, that word week, it's not really translated the best to English, because almost every single English person, if you say week, they're going to think 7 days. They're not going to think 7 years. And in the Hebrew language, when you that same word, it mean a better interpretation would be sevens. And it's like you got a sevens of days and you got a sevens of weeks. And if you look at Daniel chapter 10 verse 3, it talk about Daniel and how he fasted for 3 sevens of days, but in most translations it will say weeks of days. Well, see, and you should think about that a little bit. Weeks of days, why does it have to tell me it's a week of days? Well, it tells you it's a week of days because that word they're using, that Hebrew word they're using there, and that they're translating to weeks, it can sometimes be a sevens of days or a 7 of years, right? So that's why Daniel had to specify that he was fasting for 3 weeks of days, because if you just say for 3 weeks, it could possibly mean, well, I mean, normally it would mean um, 3 sevens of years. So that would be 21 years he was fasting. No one thinks Daniel fasted for 21 years, right? So, and you can look that up. It'll have this word called should be shabuim, in the Hebrew, or sabuim. Um, I've heard it pronounced a couple of different ways, so I'm sorry, and I'm not really sure the exact Hebrew way of pronouncing it. Um, but anyway, it would say sabuim of days. If it means like a week of days. So anyway, when we're looking at this prophecy, um, a lot of people, when they get down to verse 27, it says, "And he will make a firm covenant with many for 1 week, but in the middle of the week he will put a stop to sacrifice and grain offering, and on the wing of abominations will come one who makes desolate, even until a complete destruction, one that is decreed, is poured out on the one who makes desolate." And actually, this is a bad translation, I think, because when we get down here, I still think they have dispensationalism in mind. They still have an antichrist in mind. Um, so let me see if I can get something just a little bit. I need to close out this. You see here, Daniel 9:27 verses, or various translations. That should be, because I do want you to see how various people translate this text. And I want you to keep in mind, um, the Protestants back in the 1600s and 1500s almost all agreed that this was about Jesus, verse 27, that Jesus will make well, not that he will make, because that word make is not in the Hebrew. It should be something like he shall confirm, or he shall strengthen a covenant with many for 1 week. But see, right here, when we get down to the English Standard, it's got, and he shall make a strong covenant with many for 1 week. These people are trying their best to translate the Hebrew, but they're not very good translators. And they did not think about this verse enough. And it's understandable because I do not know the Hebrew all that well. And I think even if I did know it very well, I still think just one single verse, people think, oh, I can easily translate a verse if I know if I know both languages equally well, right? So if you think you're fluent in both languages, you might think, oh, or if you're thinking someone else is fluent in both languages, you're thinking they're going to translate this perfectly. But not everything can be translated to a perfect English equivalent from the original language. And not only that, if someone in another language thinks it means one thing, when they're translating it to English or trying to come up with the equivalent meaning. And a lot of times, if they have like this ideal in mind, like, oh, this is about a future antichrist, what they will do is they will see certain Hebrew words, and as they're translating them to English, find English words that would convey what they think this interpretation should be instead of just a translation, right? And that's kind of what I see here when it says, "And he shall make a strong covenant." Well, that word "make" is not even in the text. It this person should have took out the word "a." If they were gonna if they're going to use the word "make," they should have took out the word "a strong" and just like this letter right here. And he shall make strong covenant with many 1 week. But I don't even think that is a very good English, Hebrew to English translation. Something better would be, he shall strengthen a covenant with many for 1 week. But a lot of these people do not understand like history, archaeology. They don't understand prophecy like in a super deep way. So, oh man, I'm just thinking about. Sorry, I got a little distracted because I'm thinking on Rumble how I forgot to put any taglines in here, and I'm seeing that I have barely any viewers, but it's okay. Um, Anyway, like the King James will say, and he shall confirm a covenant with many for 1 week. The Message Bible. Then for 1:7, he will forge many and strong alliances. Like that is not even anywhere close to being in the Hebrew text. New American Standard Bible, and he will make a firm covenant with many for 1 week. Well, horrible translation once again. And this is I'm just a guy that's brand new to this, and I'm just being amazed at how bad these translations are. New International Version, and he will confirm a covenant with many for 1:7. That is actually pretty good, and I heard the NIV is horrible, right? Oh, that's one of these new modern horrible translations, but that's actually pretty good. That part right there. And he will confirm a covenant with many for 1:7, because that's what that Hebrew word actually means, is seven, not week, like in a 7-day week. So this is pretty important. I'm just going to focus on just this part for right now, because this will help you a long way in understanding the prophecy and understanding that a lot of these people who teach this are false prophets, are false teachers, are satanic, because they teach that this whole prophecy is about a future antichrist. I think that's absolutely satanic. Um, Right here we got New Revised Standard, and he shall make a strong covenant with many for 1 week. Um, I don't like the word "make" because in Hebrew it would have this word bara. Um, you know what? Let me just go ahead and have you read some. listen to something. Maybe I can have I wonder if I can have the computer read this. Oh, I guess I can't. I want to save my voice a little bit. But anyway, this is my translation of Daniel 9:27. So my translation is, and he shall strengthen a covenant. Actually, let me take this out. I don't like the word a in there because it's kind of not really in the Hebrew. So anyway, my translation, and he shall strengthen covenant for many 1 week. If you notice, all these other versions I was listening to, or I was reading off, they had for 1 week. And he shall strengthen covenant for many 1 week. And notice most of them, instead of for, it'll have with. Okay. There's a big difference here between my translation and theirs. And I will, I will be, what do you call it? Charitable. And say, yes, that Hebrew word can mean for or with. It mean either or. And I choose this, and I think it fits a lot better. Especially when you think this is about the Messiah dying for people, dying for many, making a covenant for many with his blood, right? So, but for many would sound too much like Messiah's doing that, right? So that's why they change it to the word with, because now it's like I'm making a deal with the devil, because they want to say this is about an antichrist. And so I have Young's literal translation right on the bottom right. And I did not know this because I have debated Daniel 9:27 in the past. And when I debated this, I actually used Young's literal translation thinking, oh, I'm using a real literal translation, right? Because I'm kind of new to all this stuff. And studying the Bible, and I didn't know this about translations. And I mean, I go into here thinking that most people sincerely love God. They sincerely are trying to give the truth. They're sincerely trying to know the truth. And when they're translating, they're looking at the text and being honest with it as they're translating it. And I had no idea how many people were being dishonest as they translate. I heard about it before, right? But like, to be honest, I brushed it off because I was like, how could someone be dishonest with God and think they're going to get away with it? Like, you acknowledge God and you're going to be dishonest and get away with it. You're not going to get away with it. Anyway, so in Young's translation, do you notice the big difference right here? I have a future tense interpretation. Young's has a past tense. See, Young says, and he hath strengthened a covenant with many 1 week. My translation, and he shall strengthen covenant with, and he shall strengthen covenant for many 1 week. So the Hebrew phrase in Daniel 9:27, and there's just the Hebrew characters. I'm not gonna read all of it. I think it's like wahibur barit le rob bim shabua ahad or ehid, something, I don't know. Can be translated as, and he shall confirm a covenant with many for 1 week. The verb wahibur is in the hifil form, which is causative. So it's causative and future tense, meaning he shall confirm or he shall strengthen. So Why? Okay, no, you know what? I'm not gonna. Let me just read it because. So therefore, and he shall strengthen a covenant for many 1 week is more accurate. The phrase he hath strengthened would imply a past action, which does not align with the future tense of the Hebrew verb used in this context. So the question is, why did Young's and so many other versions translate this incorrectly? Because I've seen this in a lot of versions. So here's the answer. Many believe and have been taught by pastors and prophecy teachers that this verse is about an antichrist making a 7-year treaty. Young's, which says, and he hath strengthened a covenant with many, 1 week, and versions like the New International Reader's Version, a covenant will be put into effect with many people for 1 week. Approach the text from a similar mindset, believing that this is about a future antichrist making a 7-year covenant. Then they work that into the translation. So if you notice how this New International Reader's Version, it says a covenant will be put into effect for many people for 1 week. So they're kind of trying to say, oh no, this is going to be like a 7-year covenant that's put into effect with many people for 1 week. And they'll teach it's by a future antichrist. However, the Hebrew text does not support this. Even though Young's claims to be a literal translation, we can see that the translators are mistranslating this verse to past tense. He hath strengthened to convey the idea that a covenant is already signed before the 7-year period starts. If this is not intentional, why did they translate it this way? See, because I don't think you can be like some sort of scholar and unintentionally translate it this way. So that's why I asked this question. If this is not intentional, why did they translate it this way? The verb wahigver is in the hifil form, which is causative and future tense, meaning he shall confirm or he shall strengthen. Shouldn't the translators know this? All right, so this is what you would expect. Like a translator should have saw that something was in past tense. It's sort of like me saying I know English and seeing the verb like he ran a mile and going, oh, he hasn't run it yet. What? Well, why why does the text say ran if he hasn't run a mile yet? It should say run, but it says ran. So, Chris, why are you telling everyone when you're translating it to another English, when we see the word run, you're saying ran, right? Or, vice versa, right? So if you're seeing ran, why are you saying he run a mile? It's, it's really weird, right? Like, it's the equivalent of if someone was reading English and you ask them, "Oh, is what you read in the past or future?" He run a mile. He had run a mile, or he will run a mile. Do you notice the difference? So these and we would notice the difference in English. So if you're translating this and getting paid all this money to do these translations, you would think they would notice this and that they should notice it. Bible translation companies make significant profits from their work. They should be upfront about the nature of their translations, especially when claiming to be literal, and avoid errors that mislead readers about the text's meaning. Translations like Young's literal translation seem to support the idea of an antichrist making a 7-year covenant. They need the past tense to fit this narrative. If not in the past tense, it would mean that at some point during the 7 years, the covenant will be confirmed, which could be for any length of time and not necessarily 7 years, because you keep hearing all these people, oh, a future antichrist will make a 7-year treaty. This is why most translations add the word for in front of 1 week. For 1 week. This supports the teaching of an antichrist making a 7-year covenant. Some translations even change confirm, strengthen to the word make to imply the creation of a 7-year covenant. But the Hebrew word for make or create is not in the text. Oops. I don't know why this is jumping like this. Sorry, it just keeps jumping on my screen. By changing confirm or strengthen to the word make, these translators introduce the ideal that the covenant is newly created by the Antichrist rather than an existing covenant being reinforced. The Hebrew verb, I think is wahigbar, does not mean make or create. It specifically means make strong or to confirm, indicating an action upon something that already exists. So, what it looks like to me is when it says confirm or strengthen, it's taking a thing that's already there and making it stronger or confirming it, right? Um, it's kind of the equivalent of if I already have a house and I'm going to make the house stronger, right? I didn't build the house, right? It's not a new house. I'm just making the house that's already there stronger. The Hebrew words for make and create, sorry, the Hebrew words for make and create are distinct and specific. Create, bara, this verb is used to denote the divine act of creation, often implying creation ex, ex gosh, I don't know why I cannot pronounce these words. Out of nothing. So often implying creation out of nothing and is exclusively used in reference to God's creative acts. Um Make. Asa. This verb means to make or do, often implying the formation or the construction of something from pre-existing materials. These words are not present in Daniel 9:27. So, a lot of these people, when they translate this verse, they'll say, and he shall make a covenant with many for 1 week, right? But the word for is not in there. The word make is not in there. The word create is not in there. It's strengthen or confirm. So these words are not present in 927. The text uses wahigbar, which means to strengthen or to confirm, indicating that the action is about reinforcing or validating an existing covenant, not creating a new one. Sorry, I'm a little bit more tired than I thought. Anyway, when properly translated, this verse speaks of someone confirming or strengthening an existing covenant at some point during the last 7 years, as there are only 7 years left in the prophecy. So, to conclude this, the most faithful translations to Hebrew would be these 4 sentences. And he shall strengthen covenant for many 1 week. He shall confirm covenant for many 1 week. In the last week, he shall confirm a covenant for many. And number 4, he shall confirm covenant for many in the final week. Because we know this is the last week of prophecy. The other 69 weeks are already done. They're in the past. There's only 1 week left. So, yes, the word final is not in the Hebrew. The word in the last week is not in the Hebrew, right? But this is why I argue. While all 4 of these are my translations, I would argue with anyone that they are the most accurate, that they are more accurate than what you will find in most translations. The first 2 translations are the most literal, with the first being the most literal. So the first one I read is the most literal. The last two take minimal liberty with the text compared to the majority of translations. We know there's only 1 week left, so it's not incorrect to say the final week or the last week, even though the Hebrew does not explicitly include final or last. The phrase 1 week still refers to the last week. So what I'm saying is, a lot of these people think, and he shall make a covenant for many for 1 week, for 1/7. So a lot of these dispensationalists and futurists and people who teach that this is about an antichrist, they'll say that means the antichrist is making a covenant for 7 years, but four is not in the text. That's why I keep stressing this. Four is not in the text, so it doesn't tell you how long this covenant's going to be for. It could be for 10 seconds, it could be for a day, it could be for a week, it could be for a year, it could be forever. And that's all I'm trying to say with this text, is that it doesn't tell you how long it's going to be, this covenant's going to be for. These people add that in themselves. All it's telling you is that someone's going to make a covenant sometime within that last week left of the prophecy. So I'm going to go ahead and end this stream because I don't know why I have such few viewers right now. I know I'm not on YouTube, but usually I got at least 10 people watching on Rumble. So I think what it is I did not put any taglines in, and I rushed the show out. So anyway, I'm gonna call this a day. Give you guys something to think about. If someone's ever got pushback, you want me to even if I hate you, or you feel like I hate you, you feel like I strongly disagree with you, you think I might have even called you satanic for believing in this. If you, I'm 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 just stating my feelings, right? I'm not like these other channels. If you have a video response, I will post your video response if you want. I will at least post the link to where people can find it. I will at least make a 1 minute video letting people know if you want me to, right? I don't want to get accused of controlling the narrative like these people who, like JP and stuff, who run me off their show and not even allow me to finish a sentence, right? Not even allow me to have a final word when I have been a polite guest, right? So I'm and I want to make extra sure that no one ever feels like that.